Are you a business looking for a fresh new way to reach potential customers? Well, you need to get airtime on IT TV, a 24/7 streaming and on-demand TV service online and on Roku. With Roku having a potential reach of 62 million people, it's a perfect opportunity to reach potential customers through affordable commercial and infomercial spots. Visit us online today at itnetwork.tv.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and thank you for joining me on Thursday's episode of the Roundtable Talk Show. I, of course, am your host, Sharifah Hardie, and we're going to have an entertaining show for you today. We have some new guests, some returning guests, but we're going to go ahead and share their stories, what they do, who they are, and what they're passionate about. But before I go ahead and introduce today's guest, I'm going to ask you to do what I always ask you to do. And that is to go ahead and share the show with your friends. So whatever they're doing, they need to stop, right? Whatever they're in the middle of, because this is important. So text them, tweet them, post whatever you have to do, but let them know we're on, because friends don't let friends miss out on the Roundtable Talk Show. And while you're sharing the show, I'm going to go ahead and do my job and introduce our very first guest, Miss Cyd Mitchell. Cydni is a business coach who helps food and beverage professionals learn how to start and grow profitable food industry businesses. Good morning, Miss Cyd. How are you?
Hey there, I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm excited. I'm excited to have you here, to have you a part of the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So as you said, I'm Cyd Mitchell. I actually live in Winston-Salem, North Carolina right now, and my background is in finance and accounting. I'm a financial analyst who has a love of the baking industry, and I love to help small business owners. And so I married those two together and became a baking business coach, which is not really a title that you go to school for, but it was something that I found to be very fun. But I appreciate having the opportunity to be here today.
Absolutely. We appreciate the opportunity to learn from you and to learn all about you. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and introduce my next guest, the lovely Miss Francesca Witzburg. Francesca is an award-winning intellectual property and contract attorney, helping clients stay protected and profitable. She runs the Instagram account at the Trademark Attorney to educate and empower entrepreneurs, talent, and brands. At the Trademark Attorney, Francesca, that means you must have been in the game for a long time to grab that name.
No, I started it this year. Well, now it's been a year. I grabbed it in in September of last year, right when the pandemic, like in the in the middle of it.
I'm like, that's a good name. I like that. One of my biggest regrets, I started this in the 90s, was not grabbing a lot of one-word domains. That was my thing. I'm like, I wish I would have. So I understand the importance of a name. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, and I was going to say that's actually why I'm here, because your domain names, your social media handles, your brand names, this is all intellectual property. Even though we may not use the technical word for it, owning and securing rights into your names, your handles early is critical for every single level of business owner. It's not just for Fortune 500 companies anymore to register trademarks. It is for anyone who has a business presence online, because if you don't really do the proper clearance work and you don't secure your names, it could end up costing you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars or more to try to get names back or having to change the name.
Absolutely. One of the most famous cases that I ever heard of, and you're probably familiar with it, is the McDonald's case. This wasn't about the trademark, but it was about the domain. So when McDonald's first came online, they wanted McDonald's.com, right? But it wasn't available. And they thought because they were McDonald's, they were just entitled to the name, the trademark, and all of that. But the company who owned it was like some small McDonald's farm, right? And so it was a domain. It wasn't the same type of business. They wound up paying them millions of dollars in order to get that name back.
Mm-hmm. Happens all the time. So try to get in early, or else you may need to cut someone a check to buy rights. Even Elon Musk and he talks about how he bought Tesla for $75,000.
Yes. So we're
The
going to talk.
name.
Right. We are going to talk a little bit more about that, but I just want to go ahead and introduce our next guest who's on the show, Mr. Ryan Alford. Ryan is the founder and CEO of Engineering Design Group, supplier of a secure and scalable platform that allows industries to monitor distributed sensors from around the globe. Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
Good morning, Sharifah. It's nice to be here this morning.
It's nice to have you.
Yeah, so my background is primarily in hardware engineering. So that means I design circuit boards and electronics. The first half of my career was spent designing products primarily for the military and aerospace industry. So industries where they're depending on boards that need to operate in extreme environmental conditions. So I took that expertise and I baked it into my own company called Engineering Design Group. And we are focused in bringing data off of sensors into our own hardware and then across the cloud to an application. So the goal is really to be a vehicle for sensor data to allow technicians to monitor hundreds of sensors from anywhere around the globe at the tip of their fingers.
Wow, that's a lot of thought. I mean, there's so much technical details that went into that. And I have so many questions, but I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to introduce my best friend. He doesn't know he's my best friend, but when we talk to him, we'll discover why. Mr. David Medansky. You've seen him here before. He was on the show last year, but David is known as the overweight person's best friend because he helps you lose weight and keep it off without going on a diet. You got to help your girl, David.
I'm here for you, Sharifah. Thank you for having me as a guest. And yes, I'm David Medansky. I'm known as the overweight person's best friend because I help you lose weight without going on a diet, without counting calories, and without exercising. Because in July of 2016, my doctor told me, based on lab results and being significantly overweight, I had a 95% chance for a fatal heart attack. And he did not want me dying on his watch. In fact, he told me he didn't believe I could lose the weight because he'd been asking me to lose weight for 8 years. So with that sword hanging over my head, I took action during the next 4 months. I shed 50 pounds, 25% of my total body weight, and I've kept most of it off since then. And now I want to help everybody else have more energy, feel better, look better, and improve their overall health. The reason being that most diets are temporary, hard to stick to, extreme, and potentially dangerous to your health. And the average person will attempt 126 different diets during their lifetime. So something's not working out there. And that's why I wrote the new book, Break the Chains of Dieting, which was just released on Tuesday on Amazon, and it's available in bookstores too. So I'm here to help you.
Well, I need all the help I can get, David, because I'll be over here in Cyd's world, right? Trying to get her to bake something up that's good. And then now I'm 400 pounds. So I'm serious. And I'm with you on the whole dieting thing because one of the things I did was the keto diet. And I lost 40 pounds on the keto diet. And then I gained 50 pounds back. So now I'm like, I don't even want to diet anymore. I don't even want to diet. So how do you do that without dieting, David?
There's 9 principles that I talk about in the book, and they're common sense things that we all know what to do. We just don't do it. And if you just apply the first 2 principles, you'll see noticeable results over the next couple of weeks. So the first principle is to drink more water because 75% of the US population is chronically dehydrated. Our bodies are 60 to 7% water, not soda, diet soda, fruit juices, or fruit flavored beverages. The other thing is most people, when they're hungry or think they're hungry, they're actually thirsty. So that's one of the key things is to drink more water and stay hydrated. And then the next question most people will ask me is, well, how much water should I drink? And the answer is depends. As a minimum, 64 ounces a day. However, the rule of thumb is 1/2 of your total body weight. So if you're 200 pounds, you should drink 100 ounces of water, unless, of course, you're doing physical activity outside a lot or, a professional athlete, then you need a lot more water than that. And then the second principle is just to avoid processed and manufactured foods. If you do that, eat more of the plant-based and, whole foods, you'll see a lot of results.
Mm. Now, you like to cook, Cyd. Is that correct?
I do like to bake. And I'm sitting over here like I was meant to be on this episode because I'm like, let's hear more, David. Tell us more about that. I mean, it's definitely something that a lot of folks in my industry struggle with because obviously we get into this industry because we do love cake and sugar and all of the yummy stuff. But you know, it's all about moderation as well too. So I'm really glad to be able to hear what David has to say, as well as I'm about to go and get that book as soon as we get off of here as well.
Well, he has enough of them because I'm gonna have to get that book as well. I see Francesca over there putting her water bottle up and down. So you already know.
Yeah, and I'm pregnant too, and it's just really important. Drinking water is the first thing I do in the morning. And I think, David, as you know, you said you were a lawyer. In our industry, there's just so much stress, and we forget to take care of ourselves. I think that's applicable to any industry, though. And so lifestyle and not dieting, being, you know, healthy, like following your tips, which I'm going to buy your book too, is critical to being successful in business and life.
Absolutely. Now we're gonna go over here and harass Ryan. Ryan, where's your water bottle?
Oh, well, I'm on the coffee train still here this morning. And it's an interesting conversation because, as you know, we're all hardworking entrepreneurs in this room, and you know, I've been working a lot of 12, 13, 14-hour days. So planning meals in the evening is a difficult thing, you know, and eating at the right time of day, eating the right amounts, and sometimes just remembering to eat, or, you know, it's working around the clock makes eating a difficult task compared to the average 9-to-5 job, I think.
I'm right there with you. That's something that I have struggled with since the beginning of being self-employed, having a schedule, sticking to a schedule, eating correctly. I just recently joined this, like, it's not a diet plan per se. It's more of a meal plan. So they send you meals like once a week, but it's however many meals that you order. And they're, you know, cooked by chefs already. They're just kind of like sealed, and they only stay fresh for like until the next week. And that has helped me get a little bit more consistent, but I'm right there with you. It feels like it's even worse that you are, you know, in the comfort of your own home, and you would think, you know, your bathroom is just like 3 steps away. Like, why don't you just take a break? And it's something that I've definitely have had to work on, you know, since the beginning of all of this.
Mm-hmm. Now you mentioned, I got to find out who you went through, Cyd, because I tried one service and I was going to do that, and they were like, oh, we'll send you enough meals for the week. And so I ordered it, and they sent me this whole box full of stuff. And one of the first nights, it was a pizza, but they sent me the pizza dough, the pizza ingredients, the pizza. I'm like, I'm not about to hand make a pizza. And you know what I did? I ordered me a pizza. I went on. I'm telling you the truth. You got to help me, David. I need a friend.
I'm here for you. You can email or call me anytime. I'm here to, you know, help you. And the good thing, you know, with Cyd is I'm not a purist. So I tell people I enjoy a piece of chocolate cake or a slice of pie or, you know, a muffin. However, instead of eating the whole thing, I eat just a little bit of it. So I enjoy the taste of it. And I've learned to eat a lot slower. That's one of the other principles, is to slow down. We eat at our desk or while working, and I call it mindless eating because we'll go through our food without realizing it, and we're still hungry. So if you just take, you know, if you take 5 minutes for breakfast, take 10 minutes. At minimum, take 30 minutes for lunch and 30 minutes for dinner. And that way you're giving yourself time to enjoy the food instead of just wolfing it down. And I talk about in the book how I used to be a very fast eater and have learned to slow down. So that's another important tip to do. And the other thing is stop eating about 3 hours before you go to sleep. So no matter what your schedule is, if you do that, it'll help also.
Yes. But I want to go over here to Miss Francesca for a moment because we're talking about sweets and that kind of stuff. But I'm looking at Cyd's screen, and hers is Sweet Fest, like Sweet Fest. At what point do you look into trademarks and trademarking aspects of your business?
Every point, particularly at the creation point. But just because you think you may have a name that isn't a trademark, you still have to check to see if someone else is using a name as a trademark, because it gets tricky. And I love how you said that earlier, like the ambiguity is the worst for the law, because some lawyers probably like it because it means dollar signs with litigation, but I'm not a litigator. My whole thing is being preventative and proactive to save money long term. Every business, the second that you name something or create your company name or new brand or a slogan, you should be doing three very simple things. So the first is going to uspto.gov and checking to see if someone has the registration. So that search is really limited. The tool function will only pick up the exact mark, but it's better than doing nothing, right? The second is go on the internet, go on Google, go on Facebook, actually check to see if the names are available. And then if it's a big name that you really want to protect and you want to make sure that you're not going to get sued over, the proper due diligence is to talk with an attorney before using it. I take my own advice because I'm a content creator too. I make sure that my names are not taken before using, because I've seen way too many horror stories where people think, oh, I'm a small business, I'm just going to throw my name up, and if there's a problem, I'll stop. But sometimes that's not enough, and people want damages. They want money. And not only that, to hire a lawyer to defend yourself, it costs if at a minimum, a couple $1,000 just to defend yourself and hope that it settles quickly. So everyone should be doing it at every stage. Doing those three things. Look on uspto.gov, check the internet, but also you really need to work with a lawyer, because the searches that I do are way more expansive, and they're going to pick up things that you may not think are a problem, but legally under the trademark laws are a problem.
Okay, so specifically, just for layman, people like me, I'm a layman. That's why I love to tell people, because I know a lot of people in our audience are laymen as well. What aspects of the business have to be taken into consideration for a trademark? Is it just the name, the business name? Is it social media handles? What do we have to take into consideration?
There's no okay, so the definition of a trademark is a source indicator. So if you're using a name to kind of carve out your niche and to tell people, hey, this is the Roundtable Talk Show, or if your personal name is the brand, however you're using it, you'll know if you're using a name you're trying to distinguish your goods or services from other people. If you have a logo with it, or it's a tagline, anytime you're doing things like that and you're thinking like, oh, this is a cool catchphrase or something that I want to use to differentiate my stuff from everyone else, that should raise the flag. It's a little bit more technical than that, but I agree. And that's why I'm here, is to talk in like super easy to understand terms. You guys have to kind of like trust your gut and know when you're using things that are branded, that are like looking like a brand and feeling like a brand and connected to you.
Yeah, I'd like to add one more thing to that. As a former divorce attorney, instead of doing it yourself and attempting to save some of the funds and money, pay an attorney to do it right. As an attorney, I still hire other attorneys to do my intellectual property and protect my trademarks and copyright and things like that. So I would suggest, hiring an attorney, and that's what I do too. Even though I could do it myself, I choose not to, because I want it done right.
What did you trademark?
I trademarked a game called Shenanigans, and it was also patented. And so I paid a patent attorney and trademarked for the name of the game.
Okay, that is my favorite word in the whole wide world. When people do something, I'm like, what these shenanigans? What is this game? I need this game. You got to send me this game.
I will send it to you. Yes. We'll get your address off air, and I'll send you the game, and I'll send you a signed copy of the book too.
Oh, thank you. You my best friend. You are definitely my best friend. Brian,
Well,
go
I
ahead.
love that. I love that David brought that up about having other attorneys do it correctly for you in the beginning, because I do own the name Sweet Fest, because I knew that I was going to use that later down the road. And we ended up having to defend it as well. So as many times as I've heard people, especially folks that I coach, they'll say, "Oh, well, I'm just going to go to this platform or that platform and do it myself." I always tell them about that experience. They didn't want to accept it in the beginning, and I needed to have my lawyer to defend it for me. We eventually won to be able to own the trademark. They said it was merely descriptive, so we had to explain why it wasn't merely descriptive. So just kind of piggybacking off of all of that, that it's definitely worth your time and attention, especially if you're trying to build your brand and your name, to go ahead and have someone else to help you with that if that is not your expertise.
Okay,
I love that you did that. And now that's your name and your brand, and you could sleep comfortably at night. That's my goal for every business.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's even times now that we're going through something where someone could potentially be infringing on my trademark, on my name. And so I'm working with my lawyer to make sure that doesn't continue to happen.
Amazing.
So one of the two ladies are going to explain to us merely descriptive.
Well, I will let the lawyer too.
Yeah, I think the point to take away from that, though, is that people think it's just you file and then you get a registration, and it's not. It's a very complicated process. So once you file, it needs to meet certain requirements, and I think the percentages are really low. It's a low percentage of it actually getting through if you file yourself. So your chances of it getting through are easier with an attorney. But then if there's something wrong with the application, or if there's someone who's ahead of you with a similar name, or if the government takes the position that your name isn't really a trademark, but rather it's a phrase, it's a common phrase, or it's something that literally describes what you're doing. So like Francesca's Fantastic Foods. Okay. So if I tried to register that and I'm a baker, they're going to say, well, you're Francesca, you make fantastic food. So it doesn't really function as a trademark, which I understand people are still maybe confused about it, but I think that proves the point that this is why it's a little bit more complicated. And if you really want a name bad enough, and we're not talking tens of thousands of dollars, we're talking like a minimal investment to secure and get your name and get an asset. Like now she has an amazing asset that she can use if she wants to sell her business. That trademark, that brand, that registration has a literal numerical monetary amount attached to it. So the process is complicated. We can get into all different types of refusals. Merely descriptiveness is one of them, but you really that's when you work with the lawyers if things get complicated, or you do it early to prevent things like that.
Absolutely. And one of the things too, as to why we went that route, obviously I know when to build a brand, but the merely descriptive piece, they were saying, well, if it's just a festival of sweets, like we can't just say Sweet Fest, that you own that name. And so that's what it really boiled down to. And then also because the domain name was taken, but it was not being used. And so we wanted to build a case for, okay, this is I should be able to get that domain name because now I own the name and I'm actually using it. And I've been using it since 2014.
Yeah.
So it was really to build a case for ourselves to be able to continue to secure different parts of the brand. Now I do have a domain name, thesweetfest.com, but obviously I want sweetfest.com, kind of like we were talking about the McDonald's situation.
I think also just one really quick point with that is a lot of people do their own research and then they say, oh, well, the name's taken already, or the .com's taken. But if you do not work with lawyers, you're going to have no idea on what, maybe they're in a totally different market or a different industry completely. And under trademark law, that is technically okay as long as there's different goods and services. Or if the .com is taken, you may want it bad enough. Like I was referencing Elon Musk, who he wanted it bad. He wanted it badly. And didn't just say, okay, someone else owns the name. No, I'm going to negotiate with them. I'm going to do whatever it takes to buy. And I understand that sometimes businesses are smaller, but there's still things that you can do when working, not with any IP lawyer or any legal service, with good lawyers, good IP lawyers who are more of like strategists and preventative people, as opposed to, people who just maybe litigators or things like that. You really should find someone who does this in and out on the preventative side and the registration side.
That's an excellent point. The lawyer I use, he is a IP lawyer. He mostly works with music in Atlanta, but he took on, we had some other contract stuff because he does most of my contracts as well. That's a really good point. You want to find somebody who can specifically fit into, the type of area of law that you're looking for help with.
Ryan, you going to join us?
Yeah, one of the things that I'm thinking about, EDG is about 2 years old, and we're very familiar with all of the different bits and pieces that go into due diligence, right? And there's a lot of different important legal documents that a new business has to get in place. You're typically getting an operating agreement into place if you have partners, an MNDA, contractor agreements. Maybe you're researching provisional patents, trademarks. There are a lot of things, and I think in some degree it depends on the business and what your priority is and what your finances are, because for instance, our case, we're chasing a few different patents on some of our technologies, so that definitely carried a weight into which of these legal documents and which of these trademarks we chased after first, right? So I'm kind of curious, Francesca, what do you think about trademarks with respect to all of these other documents, and where do they fall among the priority list based on your experience?
They're critical. And so that's why I call myself like a legal strategist, and I also do transactions. So the first thing when clients work with me is I say, we need to do your IP audit. We have to look at all of the things that you're doing, because most people don't know what intellectual property is, but that's their whole business. Like if there's some invention, or maybe there's a trade secret, or client lists, email lists, maybe your programs, your courses, those are all protectable intellectual property things, assets. And so that's the first thing I do is I say, show me everything. Let's pull out and let's do an inventory of what your trademarks are, your copyrights are, potential patents, and potential trade secrets. And then I don't stop there. We go through a contract checklist, because I do have a business background. And so it's really important for clients. I say the first thing is, who's going to own the IP? So then you need to register your company and incorporate with a corporate lawyer. Then you get your operating agreement. If you're an online business, you need your privacy terms and terms of service. California law actually is very, very clear on what's required. And if you don't have these things, you can get in trouble. It's no longer an excuse to say I'm a small business. If you're online and you're selling, you need to play the rules of the game. And these are the rules. Independent contractor agreements. So basically having a contract anytime you hire, anytime you hire people, or people are hiring you for either a product or some type of service. And I kind of went through the checklist, but that's what we do and I have this checklist written. If anyone wants it, it's ipchecklist.com. So it's IP related, but it's really for any business that is getting started and is in that launch phase. It's important to have.
Absolutely. And we're having such an interesting conversation, but we do need to stop for a brief commercial break.
You need jordansrooter.com. Get free estimates, 24-hour service, special discounts for seniors and veterans. That's jordansrooter.com. Have a home repair or some remodeling you need done? No problem. We can handle all that too. Give us a call today at 800-300-0358. At Jordan's Rooter, we take pride in our work and always make sure to get the job done right the first time. That's jordansrooter.com. We want to be your Mr. Fix-It.
Are you tired of losing the same 10 pounds over and over again? Then Break the Chains of Dieting is for you. Endorsed by Jack Canfield, co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. Break the Chains of Dieting provides hope for you to finally lose weight in a healthy way and keep it off. Now available. Find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and at www.breakthedietchains.net. Order your copy today.
I've had this problem.
Big problem.
I really needed
A good business consultant.
And I kept searching and searching.
There are so many choices.
It's really hard to find one that has all the things on my list. But I finally did it.
Yes. Thank you.
If you are looking for one as well, look no further.
Here's a really good one.
Just use mine.
Use mine.
I'm very satisfied.
Definitely recommend. Problem gone.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Roundtable Talk Show. If you missed the first 30 minutes of the show, you definitely want to watch it from the beginning. We have learned a lot from the show. I'm pretty sure everyone is taking notes, but I want to go back over to David for my bestie. David's my bestie. And talk to him for a moment. You talked a little bit about your doctor, and your doctor, to a certain extent, it kind of feels like he gave you an ultimatum, like you do this or else, like this is the road that you're going down. But how did you not only make it up in your mind that you were going to do it, but how did you determine, like, it's the water, it's this thing, it's that thing? How did you figure all this out?
Actually, the way I lost the weight was on HCG, which is a female hormone from pregnant women, and you're on 550 calories a day for 6 weeks. So I learned to eat slow and enjoy the food because there wasn't a whole lot of it. And I had recommended it to 6 other friends, and all 6 of them lost the weight and then gained it all back. And I wasn't always fat. I was fit and trim most of my life. However, like most people, life gets in the way. And before I realized it, with family obligations and work obligations, the weight crept up on me to where it was becoming more than an embarrassment. It was lethal. I went back and started researching the books I had from the 1970s with Paul and Patricia Bragg, Jack LaLanne, Richard Simmons, William Duffy wrote Sugar Blues, and others. And then I started reading the books that are on the market today. And I realized that the books back then were talking about basic information and basic things everybody could do. Again, simple things, we all know what to do, we just don't do it. And then I realized that the books today, a lot of the authors were just promoting their own products and services, and we're given a little bit inaccurate information or misleading information. That's why, as an attorney, I started researching more, and I came up with the principles, the 9 principles, that if you just apply the first 2, you'll get results. And it's a lifestyle. So what I tell people is a diet is like a sprint. There's a finish line, there's a goal. When you reach your goal, most people revert to their old eating habits and regain the weight. Hence with the keto diet, where you lost your weight and then regained it. With what I advocate is a lifestyle and behavior modification. So that way you can enjoy the foods that you like and you focus on those foods as opposed to what you're not able to eat and you feel like you're missing out. So we turn a negative into a positive. And that's what inspired me to use short stories with life lessons and apply those lessons to eating healthy. And then the stories in the book also can be applied to every aspect of your life. So that's what's important, is to modify your behavior. Most people don't realize 80% of our thoughts are negative each day. Just imagine if we switched it so that 80% of our thoughts were positive. So I go into positive affirmations and declarations, among other things in the book that can help people. And again, it's real simple things. Most of us don't realize our portions have been supersized. In the 1900s, the average size dinner plate was 9 inches in diameter. Today it's 12 inches. And if you go to a restaurant, it's 13 to 15 inches. Yet in Europe, the average size dinner plate is still 9 inches. So what you can do is use a salad plate instead of a dinner size plate and just take one serving. Don't go back for, seconds. The other thing to do is be mindful of colors. Red and yellow are appetite stimulants. That's why McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Denny's, all the other, fast food and restaurants use red and yellow or combination in their marketing. Blue is an appetite suppressant. So if you're going to use a plate, I use a blue plate or drink out of a blue mug. Little things like that make a difference because subconsciously we're not aware of what we're actually, telling our bodies to do. And the way I look at it is food is fuel for your body. It's a machine. Our bodies are incredible machines. So you want to put in the best, fuel for it. Most people take better care of their automobiles and their pets than they do their own selves. One of my favorite sayings is from Dr. Bob Martin. He says, if you wear out your body, where else are you going to live? So it's important to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. So now you do this full time?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's amazing to be able to do what you love full time. And Ryan, this is your company, correct?
Yeah. EDG is my company. It's an interesting conversation. I think I worked 25 or 30 consecutive days over the last 2 months. And, when you take that break, it's a good reminder that doing things in moderation, working in moderation, eating in moderation, all these things, you really come back and feel rejuvenated. Sleeping, eating, working, all of these things, you have to eat to be refueled. But it's difficult. It's been a challenge starting a business because there's, as we talked about, there's all these different documents you have to prepare. You're working on your technology, you're building relationships, and then in my case, we spend a lot of time designing products. So we're writing code, we're designing hardware, we're doing a lot of testing, and it really is tough sometimes to remember to moderate.
Now, when you said that you worked all these consecutive days, usually did something happen to get you to stop? Because usually life happens or we just, burn out or we pass out or we crash, for lack of a better word. Or did you just say, you know what, I've been working too much. Let me just rest and focus on self-care?
Well, I approach my weekends different. So, for me, when I go into the office on a weekend and nobody's there, empty parking lot, it almost feels like a different type of work. I can work on the aspects of my business where that are most enjoyable to me. Whereas during the week, especially as CEO, my role during the week is really to make sure that my team members don't have any bottlenecks to enable them to move the company forward. So, on the weekends, I'm not putting in a 12-hour day on the weekend. I go in and I make sure I get home at 2 or 3 in the afternoon and get to enjoy part of the day myself. But these sprints, they can't happen all the time. We can do them. I'll typically do a sprint like this once or twice a year, depending upon the intensity of the projects and our workload. But by no means is this something that's sustainable, or do I recommend doing over and over.
Absolutely. Francesca, you mentioned you were pregnant. Did you have to slow down? Was that hard for you?
Oh my gosh. So, okay, I echo everything that was just said because being an entrepreneur is so challenging. So I'm not a solo. I work at a firm. But that doesn't mean I'm not running my own business, right? Like I run my own book of business within the firm and I do my own marketing and my own branding and they support me. But like the hustle is real. The only reason why I'm even here with you all is because of the content and the community that I've built online and using social media. But it has been so challenging and it's stuff that like no one really talks about behind the scenes. You just kind of see the glitz and the glam and the follower count, but so much goes into that. And so I'm also I had my first son April 2020. So we're kind of doing it back to back. Crazy. Started a business and started a family in the middle of the pandemic, why not? But it has been challenging for me, particularly because I am like all of you, like a go-getter. And when I got pregnant the second time in May of this year, it really affected me. Like, being pregnant, some people get sick, some people don't, but whatever it is, your body's using so much energy to create new energy and new life. And it was, I really had to slow down and listen to my body and listen to myself. So I slowed down, but I was doing things that were really important for me. So taking care of myself, sleeping more. And then instead of doing all of the online marketing, I would still post maybe like once a week, but I was focusing on client work because at the end of the day, I'm a lawyer. So when you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, you wear multiple hats. You're your marketing person, you're a manager, you're whatever the actual job is that you do. Or if you're a parent, I mean, there's so many roles. So I just had to put myself and my body and my mental health, physical health first, and then client work. And everything else, all the other like marketing stuff came after it, but it was okay. And I think people get scared and they think, oh, if I'm not posting every day, if I'm not staying on top of it. Yes, the algorithm, it favors the constant posting for social, but I was able to pick right back up. So once I felt better about a month ago. You know, you can literally look at my feed and see I'm dropping like 3 to 4 posts a day now because I'm catching up for it. But like, you know, the woman who runs my firm told me, she's like, Francesca, life comes in seasons, and some seasons you're going to be hitting the ground, and then sometimes things knock you down, whether it's like physical, or if it's maybe a really bad business investment, or maybe someone disappoints you in life. You know, it's not always going to be the up and up and up and up. It's never linear, but you learn from that and you figure out what's the most important thing to do. And then, you know, once you get your energy back, or you get rid of that person, or you overcome whatever bad investment you've made, you know, you put that behind you and figure out how to go forward.
Absolutely. Cyd, what's it like for you? Are you just
So I am a workaholic. I don't mean to be, but I feel like it's kind of ingrained in me since a young age, right? Like I was saying earlier, you know, I've struggled with having some type of schedule since the beginning of being on my own and setting my own schedule. It's a good thing at times, but then it's not, right? So I'm a night owl. So, you know, it's nothing for me to stay up until 3-4 o'clock in the morning working, because now it's quiet, and I don't have any children, but it's quiet when it comes to my emails. Nobody's messaging me, nobody's DMing me, nobody's asking me any questions. So I'm just able to just get in the zone and work as much as possible. But I understand that that's not optimal for my body, right? Like, it's not really a great idea to, you know, go to sleep at 4 o'clock in the morning and then get back up at 9 and then just get back to it, right? And I know I don't drink enough water. I know I don't take care of myself. So there's definitely, like Francesca's saying, where you just have to take a moment to figure out, okay, let me change things up. Let me, you know, do things for myself, self-care, to make sure that I am, you know, operating at the most optimal state. I will definitely say I do like Ryan sometimes, where it's just go, and you know, everybody else is looking at me like I'm crazy. Girl, you need to sit down, take a break. But it's just, sometimes I just would rather power through it and then take the next week and binge watch something on TV. Like, I would rather do that than trying to get in the right headspace to get a lot of work done and then take a break and then get back in the headspace. But that's just, I don't want to say that is working for me. I guess it's worked for so long. But I know that there's some things that I definitely want to change up. And I'm not in the same position as Francesca, but that's definitely, you know, family planning is something that I'm looking towards in the future. And I know that there are certain things that I need to have, or I want to have, taken care of before I go down that road, so that I can have the opportunity to take a break, because I am a solopreneur right now.
But you know, one of the things that you mentioned that was interesting, Cyd, was the whole, out of everything you said, I caught all of it, was beautiful. But I love the binge watching thing, because as entrepreneurs, we never seem, to me, in my opinion, give ourselves the opportunity to just rest or just to take a break. And I remember one time in particular, it was like I just binge watched everything on Netflix, and I was just watching all day. But then you know what I felt? I felt as guilty watching Netflix as I would like eating a whole pie. Like I felt like, oh my God, like you can't just do this. And I remember having a conversation with myself. I was like, Sharifah, you can't just lay here all day and watch Netflix. But then the other Sharifah was like, dude, it's Saturday. You know what I mean? So it was like, but we just keep going and keep going and keep going. Have you ever had that experience, Ryan? Or
something? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of funny because, you know, the Thanksgiving holiday is coming up, and a lot of times over a holiday, I just tend to shut down and I find myself napping somewhere in the house, right? And, you know, my family's visiting, we're all trying to spend time together, but that's really the first time that I've had an opportunity to really decompress and let the thoughts of business, you know, exit my mind. So, you know, one of the things is we're talking about moderation. I think it's also important. I know Francesca was talking about, you know, thinking about social media and continuing to post and get more followers and likes. You know, I've been so busy that I just said, if we do one post a month, one post to our blog, you know, we're not too heavy on the social media, but I'm big on writing content that can contribute to the world. And even just one post a month, you know, it's that we're being continuous about it, and it actually is moving the needle for us. You know, we're starting to draw in, you know, people are latching onto our keywords and coming to our website. So I think sometimes businesses think that, you know, it's easy to fall into the trap of watching the numbers, and we got to make that number go higher. We have to have more followers, but you know, it's important to also remember, hey, maybe if we focus on content and getting quality followers rather than quantity. So that's kind of an approach that we've taken at EDG that actually is working, and it's allowing us to spend more of our time and energy developing technologies and working on product rather than getting you know, I don't want to use the word distracted, but spending more time in areas that we probably shouldn't be.
I think to that point, Ryan, you know, it really just depends on, I think it also depends on the business goals. And also the audience that you're trying to attract. So I think that makes total sense for your industry, and, you know, making sure that you have something consistent on your blog so that people can find those keywords, like you said, and to be drawn to, you know, to your business and the products that you guys serve. Whereas I think with what it looks like with some of the content that I and like myself and Francesca may put out to the world, it's going to be to attract in a different way, right? Like I think you have a specific client that you're going to try to bring into EDG as opposed to, you know, I feel like a lot of the things that Francesca was saying kind of really aligns intellectual property, which is basically what my business is. My business is built all around intellectual property. It's courses, it's content that I put out on social media. And so, you know, I would be someone who would see Francesca's page and it would just make sense to me because it's already something that I'm drawn to. So, and then also the difference too, that I say with some of my clients is to figure out what type of audience you're trying to bring in, right? So, for instance, it would make sense for someone who is a baker who wants to teach other bakers how to get in the kitchen and decorate cakes. It's one thing for them to get their followers up, right? They're going to want to have more followers so that they can get the attention of Food Network and other big brands, and they're drawn to that number. Whereas if there's somebody who is, you know, owns a bakery business in Memphis, Tennessee, and they're not really focused on like getting on Food Network and building that type of following, but they want to focus more on their local community, then it makes sense for them to focus on the quality as opposed to the quantity. So there's always different kind of goals that you'll want to look at when it comes to that type of stuff in social media.
Yeah, absolutely. You said I completely agree with what you're saying, and thank you for bringing that up. It's kind of funny, as an electronics company, we are probably never going to have an Instagram account or
right.
a Facebook page, but I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. When you're selling sweets, you're trying to draw in a critical mass of followers and clients, because that's really how word spreads. Somebody, hey, we're buying these treats, these cookies are good. And now they get their friends and family buying them and following, and it just has a very nice ripple effect. So I can completely understand what you're saying there.
Right. And I would imagine what would be a good fit for you is like trade shows, right? So like mechanical shows where you're like showing off the different technology. I feel like that would probably be a better fit, and a way that you would draw in a client that would be able to, put down, several $1 million contract for your products. I think that would be probably a better fit for your marketing side, as opposed to, showcasing all this technology that probably is not purchased direct to consumer.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of our business is gained by building relationships over a long period of time, and there's one customer that is going to be a very valuable customer to us, and I think it was like a 9 or 10 month period of interacting with them and building trust and really understanding how we can solve their problem in a way that would help them before we actually close the deal with them. So, they're not coming into our shop, spending $10 or $20 and saying, oh, we're really happy with your brand, we're going to be back again next week. It doesn't work like that in electronics so much.
Didn't think so.
Right. But we just want to say to that little bakery in Memphis, Tennessee, you too can be on the cooking channel, right?
The cooking channel, Food Network, all that good
network,
stuff.
all of that stuff, no matter where you are.
That's how they find people these days, actually. A lot of the channels, Netflix, Hulu, all the different places that are trying to get programming for our industry, the sweets industry, are finding people on social media now, actually.
More than just the sweets. I mean, that's where it is these days. I mean, authors, agents, whatever. You want somebody who has a social media presence. And what is interesting is the micro influencers are coming so much more valuable than, the 20 million followers type people. The micro influencers have a sphere of influence that's really becoming very popular. This has been so interesting and entertaining, and I learned a lot. We are coming down to the last few minutes of the show, and what I love to do at the end of every show is just simply allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the audience, to everyone who is watching the show live, as well as everyone who is watching in the archives, and let them know what you want them to take away from your appearance here today. And we're going to start with you, Francesca.
This has been amazing, and I'm so glad I got to meet all of you on this table talk, but also I'm sure there's so many more people who are going to watch the show. So I'm glad I can connect with you all too. I would say the one takeaway for every business is to invest in yourself, invest in your intellectual property. Don't just think of the intellectual property and contract piece as a necessary evil. Think of it as an opportunity to own your assets, which can then be transferred and monetized if you sell your business. All the people here on this panel and at this table talk understand the power of intellectual property, and they work with lawyers strategically to stay protected and profitable. So follow me to learn more tips on Instagram. I'm at the Trademark Attorney, and then I also do have that free checklist. It's actually, the domain is ipfreebie.com. So go there and grab your free checklist.
Yes, thank you. Please put the domain or the link in the comment section so everyone can check it out. Mr. Ryan, what do you have for the people?
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to be here at the roundtable today. I think really, we're all doing different types of businesses, but we're all entrepreneurs. I'm obviously in the electronics area and sensors, so I'm not sure how many of your viewers are interested in that area. But if anybody has questions about, if they're thinking about entering entrepreneurship or launching their own business, they could reach me at edglab.com. I have a LinkedIn profile there and an email, and I'd be happy to take 30 minutes out of my day to talk to anybody and give them some pointers to get them up and running. So thank you again, Sharifah.
You are so welcome. Thank you. Miss Cyd, what do you have for the people?
Well, first, again, I want to just say thank you for the opportunity to get a chance to meet everybody on the panel. I feel like there's some type of connection to each one. I can identify with Ryan with the workaholic side and falling asleep. So I've definitely done that during the holidays and wondered why I couldn't, wake up. And with Francesca and just so much of the intellectual property part. I'm pretty sure I'll be talking to each one of you guys and also to David, because I got to get my book together. I got to get myself together over here. But I think my main takeaway is to just focus on your goals, like whether you are starting a business, whether you're starting, a family, whether you are just, trying to figure out where you're going to go in life, figure out what makes you happy. And draw up plans for how you can make the life that you are looking to have. I know that this is something that like I said, I had struggled with getting a schedule, but I haven't struggled with the business part because I've always been able to stay focused on the fact that I wanted to help people. So just make sure you stay in tune with that. And also I would enjoy connecting with each of you over on Instagram at @sweet_fest, which is where I share a lot of business content for folks in the industry. It is usually geared to folks who are in the food and beverage industry, but also there's any type of just general business knowledge that's shared over there as well. So thank you.
And what services does Sweet Fest offer?
Oh my gosh, that's loaded. We have an academy. It's called the Sugar Coin Academy. And that is basically business school for folks who are in the food and beverage industry. But then we also provide other coaching services outside of our online trainings. So we'll do one-on-one coaching. We also have done websites in the past. We also do branding support. So it's basically business services for folks in our industry.
Okay. Well, I like that. I'm over here trying to figure out how to give me some sweets and some cakes and something.
Well, I can connect you to all kinds of bakers in your area too. So I have to connect. I'm the plug. There you go.
Oh, okay. Well, I need all the ones in Long Beach, California. I'm willing to expand to general Los Angeles area, but I'm gonna be in trouble with my bestie because all I want to do is eat.
A little bit is good. You can have that. Thank you, Sharifah, for having me as a guest. I'm grateful and blessed to be here today with everybody. The takeaway I want people to remember is stop wasting money on fad diets. And fad stands for fat and desperate. They don't work. Again, they're temporary, extreme, hard to stick with, and potentially dangerous to your health. So improve your lifestyle. Focus on the things that you enjoy. If you enjoy eating an apple, focus on that instead of, I'm not able to have the candy bar. Focus on, what's going to be healthy for your body. Drink more water. Again, 75% of the U.S. population is chronically dehydrated. 72% are overweight. So there's a correlation between not drinking enough water and being overweight. Take care of yourselves. Darren Hardy talks about a story where, keep it brief, but basically a dog is complaining and whining for about a week. And finally, a man asked the owner, "Why is the dog whining?" He says, "Well, he's sitting on a nail." And the man's like, "What? He's sitting on a nail? Why doesn't he get off of it?" And the farmer or the person says, "I guess it doesn't hurt him enough." So if you're overweight, it may not be hurting you enough until you get your wake-up call like I did. Don't wait till you have the type 2 diabetes. Don't wait till you get the heart attack or stroke or different types of cancers. Start now to improve your overall health. You'll feel better. You'll have more energy. You'll look better. And it's important to take care of yourself. And if you don't do it for yourself, do it for your loved ones. Think about your spouse, your kids, your grandkids, your colleagues at work. There's other people that rely on you. So do for them too.
Absolutely. Yes. I want to thank you all for being guests on today's episode of the Roundtable Talk Show. And I especially want to thank everyone who tuned in to watch this show live, as well as everyone who is watching it in the archives. I always appreciate your support. I appreciate you watching the show. I appreciate you sharing the show, but I always ask that you support our guests. Our guests are here to help you, to give you their advice, their tips, their strategies. So please support them. Their website links are in the description. Follow them on social media, reach out to them, send them a message. And when you do, please let them know Sharifah Hardie says hi. Now, if you're interested in more ways that I can help your business, or maybe you want to be a guest on the Roundtable Talk Show, please visit my website at AskSharifah.com. Until tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, everyone have a safe and a blessed day. Bye now.